When you work in digital and you need to make a change to a system, a program, or web application, it should always take the form of a user story. Why is that? Well, without users, obviously, there is no need for an application. So you always need to describe what needs to be done from the perspective of the end user, of the person using the tool. User stories can reduce the overhead in documentation and accelerate the overall software development process. So how do you write good user stories and how do you make the most of them? Let's get to it. Hey, welcome to this new edition of Digital Blitz, your short brief on everything UX, tech and compliance. I'm Sylvain Reiter and I'm here to help you succeed in digital by delivering better experiences for your team and your customers. User stories are often linked to the Agile methodology, but actually work very well in more waterfall projects and other frameworks. I think they really apply pretty much anywhere when you need to describe a specific feature. The user story is there to help everyone in your team to plan and visualize upfront what should happen. It gives all the necessary context and information to the developers, the testers, and everyone else who will build, launch, and use that feature. When it comes to user stories, you've probably heard about the specific format of as a user, I want to perform an action so that I can achieve a specific goal. The first part of that sentence is always about the who, the user. You can have multiple personas interacting with your web application, so you need to think about how each one is going to use that functionality. There might be multiple user stories based on who the user is. It might come whether it's a first-time user, a returning customer, or even the admin editors from their point of view. And they're going to use the features differently. The second part describes the what. What is the actual action that the user is doing? What's the main step in that process? It could be submitting a form, triggering an API call, or reaching a key milestone somewhere in the user journey. And the third and last part documents the why. What is the reasoning behind that action? What's the end goal? It can link to a business KPI or the actual underlying value. It's really important because it gives the team more context about the true objectives of the features and why it should be built in the first place. Now that you have a well-formed user story explained in a single sentence, you need to enrich that with acceptance criteria. Those acceptance criteria complement the narrative and describe more about the condition and what should be achieved. So when someone tests what's been built, they can confirm that it's done with all the different parameters, permutation, and validation rules, for example. They can make sure it's working as expected. This is where you also need to enrich the user story with the relevant part of your UX research, the prototypes, the visual design storyboards, every piece of information that applies to that feature to give all the information to the development team in one place. And it's a tricky process. On the first time you're going to do it, in the first round, your stories might be very large and not very detailed, but this is fine. You always start with epics that describe the whole module, but they're still very helpful to capture the rough scope, and then you can iterate over those and break down the module into smaller functionalities with more granular and feasible and testable user stories. It's only at that stage, when everything is described is small chunk with a lot of details, that the development team can come in and start estimating each feature and actually start building a timeline of the different releases. To summarize what makes good user stories, I'll share the INVEST framework. It was released by Bill Wake back in 2003, but still very applicable today. And in this INVEST, the I stands for independence. This is where the user story should not be linked between each other. It should be done in isolation. N is negotiable, because as we described, it's a team effort to discuss, negotiate, and agree on how things are going to be built. V is for valuable, to clearly link each user story to how it will help the end user and what's the value we're delivering. E stands for estimable, so not a large epic, that's too vague, but small user story. S stands for small, that ideally needs to be a feature that can be done in a few days. And the T is for testable, and that's where the good acceptance criteria come in. The final piece of advice I will give you today is that during the whole process, it's really important to have a strong product owner who has a good understanding of the users, the market, the business, and can make everyone collaborate well. So that's it for today. If you're struggling to communicate your development roadmap with user stories, or if you need help to upgrade your current processes, leave me some comments below or get in touch. You can watch other videos about digital optimization on my channel, and don't forget to subscribe to keep learning with me and grow your career in digital. Until next time, stay safe and see you soon. When you work in digital and you need to make a change to a system, a program, or web application, it should always take the form of a user story. Why is that? Well, without users, obviously there is no need for an application, so you always need to describe what needs to be done from the perspective of the end user, of the person using the tool. User stories can reduce the overhead in documentation and accelerate the overall software development process. So how do you write good user stories and how do you make the most of them? Let's get to it. Hey, welcome to this new edition of Digital Blitz, your short brief on everything UX, tech, and compliance. I'm Sylvain Reiter, and I'm here to help you succeed in digital by delivering better experiences for your team and your customers. User stories are often linked to the Agile methodology, but actually work very well in more waterfall projects and other frameworks. I think they really apply pretty much anywhere when you need to describe a specific feature, because the user story is there to help everyone in your team to plan and visualize upfront what should happen, and it gives all the necessary context and information to the developers, the testers, and everyone else who will build, launch, and use that feature. When it comes to user stories, you've probably heard about the specific format of, as a user, I want to perform an action so that I can achieve a specific goal. The first part of that sentence is always about the who, the user, because you can have multiple personas interacting with your web application. So you need to think about how each one is going to use that functionality. There might be multiple user stories based on who the user is. It might come whether it's a first-time user, a returning customer, or even the admin editors from their point of view. And they're going to use the features differently. The second part describes the what. What is the actual action that the user is doing? What's the main step in that process? It could be submitting a form, triggering an API call, or reaching a key milestone somewhere in the user journey. And the third and last part documents the why. What is the reasoning behind that action? What's the end goal? It can link to a business KPI or the actual underlying value And it's really important because it gives the team more context about the true objectives of the features and why it should be built in the first place. So now that you have a well-formed user story explained in a single sentence, you need to enrich that with acceptance criteria. Those acceptance criteria complement the narrative and describe more about the condition and what should be achieved. So when someone tests what's been built, they can confirm that it's done with all the different parameters, permutation, and validation rules, for example. They can make sure it's working as expected. And this is where you also need to enrich the user story with the relevant part of your UX research, the prototypes, the visual design storyboards, every piece of information that applies to that feature to give all the information to the development team in one place. And it's a tricky process. On the first time you're going to do it, in the first round, your stories might be very large and not very detailed, but this is fine. You always start with epics that describe the whole module, but they're still very helpful to capture the rough scope, and then you can iterate over those and break down the module into smaller functionalities with more granular and feasible and testable user stories. And it's only at that stage, when everything is described is small chunk with a lot of details, that the development team can come in and start estimating each feature and actually start building a timeline of the different releases. To summarize on what makes good user stories, I'll share the INVEST framework. It was released by Bill Wake back in 2003, but it's still very applicable today. And in this INVEST, the I stands for independent. This is where the user story should not be linked between each other. It should be done in isolation. N is negotiable, because as we described, it's a team effort to discuss, negotiate, and agree on how things are going to be built. V is for valuable, to clearly link each user story to how it will help the end user and what's the value we're delivering. E stands for estimable, so not a large epic, that's too vague, but small user story. S stands for small, that ideally needs to be a feature that can be done in a few days. And the T is for testable, and that's where the good acceptance criteria come in. The final piece of advice I will give you today is that during the whole process, it's really important to have a strong product owner who has a good understanding of the users, the market, the business, and can make everyone collaborate well. So that's it for today. If you're struggling to communicate your development roadmap with user stories, or if you need help to upgrade your current processes, leave me some comments below or get in touch. You can watch other videos about digital optimization on my channel, and don't forget to subscribe to keep learning with me and grow your career in digital. Until next time, stay safe and see you soon.